Hi, everyone, and welcome to Swoon-Worthy, the podcast where we talk all things period drama. I'm your host, Carly, and today I'm joined by my friends and frequent co-hosts, Stephanie and Sunny, and the three of us are back together again after kicking off this season with our two-part deep dive into The Gilded Age Season 3. In today's episode, we're diving into House of Guinness, Netflix's latest period drama. We'll be unpacking the story, the setting, the performances, and all the details that make it swoon-worthy. Hi, Stephanie and Sunny. Thank you for coming back onto the show.
Hello, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me. So excited to be here with you both.
Awesome. All right. I think we are all pumped and ready to talk about this buzzworthy show that started streaming on Netflix just a few weeks ago, really. At the end of September, all 8 episodes aired at once. So people were able to binge it or, watch it at a slower pace. First up, I wanted to ask, what are your initial thoughts on the show? Did you love it? Are you still digesting it and thinking about it? Are you a diehard fan, or maybe it wasn't for you? I'll start with Sunny.
Yeah, oh my gosh. What first season. I thought it was extremely entertaining. I loved the soundtrack. I thought it was so fun and really like set the tone for the entire season. In general, I thought it started out really, really strong. But I do think I wanted like more from it just in terms of like time spent with the characters this season. I felt like especially towards the end, every episode could have been like an entire season unto itself. And I just wish we like had more time with them. I'm so curious to know what you guys thought about the season overall.
Yeah, I agree on all fronts. I thought it started out with a bang for sure. Like you knew exactly like what you were in for. And of course the Peaky Blinders-ness of it all
Yeah.
was so fun. Like I knew there was going to be some great music. I knew there'd be a lot of like slow motion walking and cool costumes. I loved some of the performances. I really enjoyed learning the history. I knew nothing about the history of Guinness, and it's pretty fascinating. And yeah, I feel like, we probably sped up in time quite a bit, and I didn't really feel that in the show. I don't know. It did seem a little bit rushed at times, kind of
Yeah.
like Sunny was saying. So, but overall, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely entertaining, lots of great costumes. And like you said, Stephanie, the history was so fascinating. It made me want to learn more about Ireland in general.
Hmm.
And like I've always known there was there were the rebellions and there were the groups that didn't like being a part of the British. However, I really need to know more of the details, if that makes sense. But I will say that with the Gilded Age season 1, back to where we covered season 3 together, I feel like with season 1, The Gilded Age, I wasn't sold on it yet. I didn't love the show as much as I do now in season 3 of The Gilded Age. So I'm wondering if it just needs a little more time. We need to, I don't know, sit with the characters a little bit more and get more of their storyline. So from what I know, it has not yet been renewed for a season 2, but there had been plans to continue the series. So I think we're all just waiting news on that. I don't know if you've heard the same, either of you.
Yeah, I haven't heard news of that at all. I've watched a lot of the press and stuff, and they haven't mentioned it, but left on a cliffhanger. So
I'll say. Yeah. What about you, Sunny? Have you heard anything about a season 2?
No, I haven't, but yeah, they definitely set it up for a second season, so I hope we get it because, uh, any critique I have of the first season, I'm definitely watching the second one. So, yeah, I hope they
Yeah.
come back.
Yeah. All right. And Steph, you mentioned the Peaky Blinders-ness of it all. So, created by Stephen Knight of the Peaky Blinders. So there was a lot of expectation there, and there were some elements that I felt stayed true to that atmosphere of Peaky Blinders. But then I've seen in reviews and people commenting like, it wasn't exactly Peaky Blinders. Like that's not what was necessarily delivered. But it is a different show. So I don't know. Any thoughts on if it held up to that expectation or it's just a completely new series in its own?
I actually haven't seen Peaky Blinders, so I can't speak to that on like a comparison level, but my sister has seen Peaky Blinders, loved it, saw House of Guinness, also loved it, and she said she loved House of Guinness because it was just like rich people being messy. Like
Yeah.
Yes.
Peaky Blinders, like the stakes felt so high because if they failed, they would die kind of thing. So yeah, I think like in a way this was more of a I don't want to say like lighthearted, but I think she had more fun watching House of Guinness. Yeah, what did you think, Stephanie? You've seen Peaky Blinders, if I'm
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Yes, I did watch Peaky Blinders. I love Cillian Murphy. He's like one of my all-time favorite actors. So I watched it for him, but ended up just like being obsessed with the show. Um, I do agree that the House of Guinness is more about like rich people who kind of have easy lives, whereas Peaky Blinders is very dark and it is about people who have had a lot of trauma in their lives. And it's also a very different time period too. And I feel that it was a way more violent time period. That may not be correct, but it's certainly a very violent show. Um,
Hmm.
so I think it's just darker all around, and the characters are just so much like more compelling, I guess,
Ooh, okay.
than House of Guinness
Yeah.
because they're not just, rich people who are kind of unlikable. Like the tone of both of them definitely
Hmm.
matched. I think it was really cool to see that. But yeah, Peaky
Yeah.
Blinders is the best.
Yeah, it is in a class of its own, maybe, as far as a period drama goes. Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely more violent. And I like your call out about the setting and the time period. So with House of Guinness, we're looking at 1868. Yeah, definitely the landed gentry, the wealthier class. We do see some of the working class, and there were parts where when it was, a scene in a bar or a scene by the docks where it felt a little more of Peaky Blinders quality. Yeah, and so then you go to the nice estates and you don't feel that. Yeah.
Right. The parts at the docks, that's very Peaky Blinders. And like, they set fire to all the Guinness and that was very Peaky Blinders. So
Yeah.
there definitely were moments that felt like it.
Yeah, and a bullet being delivered with the name on it. There you
Oh
go.
yeah.
But it was touch and go with that. However, yeah, Sunny, you earlier you mentioned the music, I believe. The music, wow, right from the beginning, this is different and going to be unique and fun and takes you on a ride from Irish rap to Irish rock, Irish punk, grunge. I mean, and then a few like more folk songs too. Yeah, definitely. So I think that was a smart choice to integrate all of that, the variety of music, I should say, if anyone
Yeah,
else.
definitely. There is an Irish rap group, Kneecap, which is featured like very prominently throughout the whole season. And Liam and I and my sister were huge fans. And they actually had a movie. It was like semi-autobiographical film about their group that came out, I think last year or the year before, maybe. And we all went to see that in theaters together. And it was like, Stephanie, you're nodding your head. Have you seen the film?
I haven't seen it. I really want to, but I know like everyone just loved it. I heard so many good things.
It was so much fun. And like the music is so good and it gets you like so pumped. But yeah, I was like I didn't know that they were gonna feature in the soundtrack so heavily. So when the first song came on, Liam and I were like, yeah, like let's go.
That's awesome.
Um yeah.
Very cool. One thing that I thought was interesting, I don't know if you may have caught it or picked up on it, and I can't be 100% certain, but in the wedding scene in episode 4, there's some really high energy music when they're dancing, and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is the song from the Titanic dancing scene when they're below decks. And then I looked it up, and it's because they're using traditional Irish songs. So there's like a medley called Blarney Pilgrim and John Ryan's Polka. And so perhaps it was just the traditional music, but I thought that was really fun. I'm pretty sure, I can't be 100% certain, but I think it was the Titanic below decks dancing music going on.
Do you remember that sort of music became super popular after Titanic came out? Like, do you remember that being a phenomenon? I feel
I
like I
don't.
do, and maybe I'm making it up, but I feel like I remember that band who was like playing the music in the movie getting a lot of publicity.
That's so cool. I don't remember that, unfortunately. I think it was performed by Gaelic Storm. I looked it up. So,
Nice.
yeah. Anyways, but the music is just a definitely a star of the show, I would say.
Yeah, I love like Irish pride and like the Irish appreciation of the arts in general. And I feel like this show is like a big nod to that. And I loved that aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I saw a few comments online that said people were turned off by that. And I was just like, come on, it couldn't be all traditional or classical. We needed a bit of, you know, rock in there and rap. I don't know, to set things apart. And also at the very beginning, when the show starts, it's different. There's just bold letters being thrown across the screen, and you're seeing like the beer being made in these really cool high resolution shots. And they were saying something like water, malted barley, hops, yeast, copper, oak, fire. And then it transitioned to family, money, rebellion, power. I mean, very unique. What did you think about the very opening scenes that we saw from the show?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, guys. When the first like title cards came up, I was like, are they putting a Guinness ad like before the first episode?
Yeah,
I was
it did
like
look like that.
I was a little confused. And then like it rolls right into Mr. Rafferty like walking through the brewery. So I was like, oh, okay, like we're in it now. But yeah, I didn't like remember that until I rewatched it while doing research for the podcast. And I was like, that's hilarious. Like I fully thought they were gonna show us like a full branded content sort of Guinness thing before the episode started.
Yeah. Did you like it or did you think it was kind of off-putting, either of you?
I started laughing. I thought it was like kind of cheesy. But
Okay.
it's fun. And then like you get that as that sort of like the big letters, the title cards like throughout the season. So I think
Yeah.
there is like an aesthetic purpose to it. What
Yeah.
do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it was a little cheesy too. I was like, okay, the ingredients of beer, this is great. But I also like I knew what we were in for, so I was like, okay, let's go. I'm excited about this. And I think for those title cards, I could be wrong, but it feels like they use the same font as they use in Peaky Blinders.
Ah,
So
Mm.
it felt very similar to Peaky Blinders in that way. So I
okay.
enjoyed that. I enjoy a big title card sometimes when
Bold.
done appropriately, yes. But yeah, I thought the beginning, like that first episode was great. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Even if it was a little cheesy, it was fun.
It was fun. It was different. It kind of made me think of the beginning of Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet a little bit, where it's like quick shots and kind of just, I don't know, unseats you a little bit right at the beginning. And you're like, okay, paying attention now. What's going to happen here? So I don't know. I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then as you said, Sonny, that first shot of James Norton, he's the first character we're introduced to as Mr. Sean Rafferty. And someone calls out to him saying like, "Oh, Mr. Rafferty, sir, do you think there will be trouble today?" And he says, "The man's name is Guinness. Of course there'll be effing trouble." It was, yeah, I don't know. I thought it was interesting that they started the show with him. He's probably one of the more well-known actors of the show, actually, by now. He plays a tough guy, and I wanted to get your opinion. Do we think he's a believable tough guy throughout this series? Stephanie, I'll start with you.
Well, that's one of the first things I said to you about this is that it was hard to believe him as a tough guy. And to be honest, because we know him from Grantchester and from so many period dramas, and he just seems like a gentle person. He has such a gentle voice. But I have seen him play a tough guy in other projects too. So I thought he did great. By the end of it,
Yeah,
I was really like,
yeah.
okay, this is Rafferty. This isn't James Norton. So yeah, ultimately he did a great job, but at first I was kind of giggling.
Yeah, yeah. By the end of it, I was a bit more sold because he does have some different character moments where he's not always the tough guy. Well, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that, but it's hard to see him, not he's in a black suit, a black top hat, a white cravat, and it's like not unlike his crime-solving vicar, Sidney Chambers in Grantchester.
Yes.
Sunny, what do you think about James Norton?
I know James Norton from Little Women, where he plays the very sweet Mr. Brooke that eventually marries Emma Watson's character. So I was not prepared for him as Mr. Rafferty here with his like little hoop earring.
Yes.
I also read a pretty scathing review by an Irish critic who called Mr. Rafferty's character a steampunk Mr. Tato. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Irish potato chip brand, Mr. Tato.
No,
Wait, Carly, let me just pull this up
I'm
for
so
you.
curious. But I like the steampunk. I like the steampunk vibes, yeah.
So
Because
ever
my
since I read that, I like can't unsee, unfortunately, but this is Mr. Tato.
I can see it, yeah. Hmm.
Okay, it's really funny you mentioned that because I was watching an interview with Anthony Boyle and Louis Partridge. They were on some morning show in England and they showed a picture of him as Arthur Guinness and they were talking about his mustache and how it was his real mustache. He really grew it. And he said, I look like I'm doing a biopic of the Pringles man.
Yes, I see that
So,
too.
I mean, I guess just potato chips and Guinness. I don't know.
And
There
yeah,
is, yeah, there's something so, I think, like maybe cartoonish about the sort of like the very, how do you say, like the characteristics of like 19th century dress that are like funny to us now. They almost feel like
Mhm.
caricaturish, but it's historically accurate.
Yeah. These top hats especially were very tall, I think, and I loved a lot of the jackets with the fur trim. So sometimes the men's fashion gets overlooked when we talk about period dramas, but I think it was really great in this. And even James Norton, who was playing a tough guy, had some like pretty vests with florals or leaf designs, and I was like, this is great. I love the vests in this too. Yeah.
Yeah, there were some really cool prints that they were wearing, and yeah,
Mhm.
they didn't have boring costumes at all, the men.
No. Shout out to costume designer Edward K. Gibbon, who was the costume designer for Harlots season one. That was back in 2017, and you can watch Harlots on Hulu. That's got a nice aesthetic to it. And then the BBC War and Peace miniseries from 2016, Edward K. Gibbon designed for that. And that one starred James Norton as well. Just an aside here, I want to give a shout out to one of our Swoon-Worthy podcast fans and listeners, Callie, who has recommended that we do a War and Peace episode. And so I wanted to say thanks, Callie, for listening. And we are looking forward to a War and Peace episode, perhaps in the next season. So yeah, costuming. And then we have the women's costumes. There were some really, really nice costumes here, from ball gowns to more simple wear. And then we have to also talk about the the Fenians. We got to talk about the Fenians. So mainly the character Ellen Cochrane, who wore a lot of green and wore a lot of, more of your working class costumes, but I don't know, I really loved everything that she wore.
Yes, I love the costumes. I agree with you. I think the men's costumes for the show are spectacular. I loved Mr. Rafferty's wardrobe and also Arthur Guinness's. I thought they had the most sort of like flamboyant attire with I guess their waistcoats. They had like a lot of like embroidered patterned waistcoats and like fun cravats. Yes, I loved Ellen Cochran's. She had a lot of like cotton print type dresses, like really pretty, sweet, floral, calico-y motifs that I love.
Hmm.
I would wear those today.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were some of your guys' favorite costumes?
Honestly, the last one that we see Arthur Guinness wear, the suit that it's like a black and white print.
Yes. Oh,
I
it's
don't really
almost like
know how to
houndstooth.
right.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
that's a good comparison. I don't know if it is houndstooth, but yeah, it's some really cool pattern that I just haven't really seen before, but I thought it was so pretty in that
Yeah.
suit. Um, Yeah, as for women, I can't think of like one particular standout dress. Ellen, I love like the colors she wears. I also think when she's like dressing up, you can kind of tell she like looks like she hates what she's wearing. Like she looks so out of place wearing that because she's not like a lady, you know, she's really
Yeah.
tough, wants to be out and doing work and things like that. So I liked that aspect of it. She looked kind of out of place in the nicer clothes.
That's such a good point. Yes, because she's actually kind of made to wear dresses because when she starts to form a relationship with Edward, I think he pays for her dresses. But she does choose green each time, I feel like, which is sweet because when she we see her in her own clothes, she's wearing a bit of green. She's part of a ladies' committee, and you see her doing either peaceful protesting or going around perhaps doing petitions or some kind of work for this ladies' committee. And sometimes she wears like a banner across, like a sash. And I was watching this with my husband, and he was like, "She kind of looks like a Girl Scout." It's like, okay,
Oh no.
Tristan.
No, it's
Um,
kind of true though.
he made a couple comments. So in episode one, first off, we have a lot of the women, or Anne especially, the sister of Arthur and Edward and Benjamin, Anne. She wears mourning, of course, because her father just passed away. And his comment there when she was wearing black was, she looks like a depressing painting. Oh, it's because she's in mourning. Okay, she's right on point then. I was like, okay, Justin, thank you. As far as some of the notable women's dresses, I loved in the wedding scene for Olivia. She's wearing a beautiful wedding dress, of course. It's white and satiny. Her hairpiece is beautiful, her floral embellishments in the hair. And then Adelaide is wearing like a very pretty silver dress. And we don't really know who this character is at first. She's just like another woman in the scene. But by the end of the series, you really know who Adelaide is as a character. And I have to say, starting in episode 6, I was in love with her fashion. There was one time where she was wearing this like burgundy vest, a white collared shirt with a little black ribbon. She's at one point wearing like a beautiful blue riding habit. And I don't know, I was just a big fan of Adelaide's character's costuming by the end of it.
I totally agree. I think yeah, that blue dress that she wears when she visits, I don't know which property it is, but
Mm-hmm.
when she visits with Edward,
Mm-hmm.
that's my favorite, I think, costume in the entire season, and especially in that room that she's in with the beautiful, like, ornate wallpaper. Oh, I just thought that was
Mm-hmm.
stunning. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very eye-catching, that blue. And yeah, other than that, I know what you mean where the women's costume maybe isn't as memorable, but it's nice to have a change up with the men's costuming being stars of the show.
Yeah, definitely.
So we started out, of course, talking about Mr. Rafferty because he was the opening character. We've transitioned to talking about the Guinness family a little bit. So let's talk about them and who they cast for the Guinness siblings. So we have, I believe the oldest is actually Anne when I was looking into it, the first child of Sir Benjamin Guinness. She's played by Emily Farren. I haven't seen her in anything else, but I think she was really spot on for this part of Anne, who is trying to be the older sister at times and keep the siblings a bit more unified and together. But she's also trying to find herself a little bit. She's married to someone who she doesn't particularly care for, and she's trying to find her purpose in the world. And then it sounds like her health isn't always the best, which is very sad. But I think I really liked her acting and her character. Anyone have any comments on Anne?
Yeah, I really liked the actress as well. I'm not familiar with her, but I thought she was really, really lovely as this character. You kind of never knew like what side she was on or where she was going. Um, and the actress, she's a lot of fun. I've watched some interviews with her, and I just really like her. So I'm excited to see what else she does.
Yeah, I think the character of Anne for me is like why I wanted more from this season. Like I feel like she was really in and out of the like events, and like I couldn't really place where she was in like the timeline of things, which was frustrating because she's the only sister in the Guinness clan. And I would have loved to see more of her. Like, I feel like there are big time jumps between events that happen with her where we see like none of her.
Yeah.
But I do love the actress, and every time she like came on screen, I was like excited to see her. Um, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I wish like there were like moments where she appears and she like drives the story forward, and I'm like, whoa, all the events preceding this moment could have been like a couple episodes worth of material. So I thought that was kind of a pity, but yeah, I'm excited to see her again.
No, that's so well said. And at the beginning, I thought we were going to get more of her. I mean, they focus on her, of course, that tumultuous carriage ride, the Clune Boo
Yeah.
scenes, and I thought she did a great job there. And back to the beginning, and then sort of that full circle moment at the end where she's trying to keep the siblings like unified, like we're in this together, carrying on our father's legacy. So I really loved her, and yeah, she definitely disappeared a bit in the middle. Yeah. Then we have Arthur, played by Anthony Boyle. And Stephanie, I believe you're a fan of this actor.
I am, yeah. I really love him. I first became familiar with him when he originated the role of, I believe, Scorpius Malfoy in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. So that's when he first kind of came on the scene. I never saw it, but I just saw interviews and I was like, who is this adorable young Irish actor? But yeah, I've seen him in, let's see, Masters of the Air, Tolkien, this other show called The Plot Against America that was interesting. Maybe some other things too, but those are the main ones. And yeah, I just love him. I think he's
Yeah.
just fantastic actor, really interesting face, and a lovely, lovely natural Irish accent. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot of him for sure.
Yeah. I feel like I saw his profile rise the highest on IMDb, like as a rising star. And I was like, oh, I love that. And Tolkien, yeah, I had seen him in Tolkien. It's a movie with Nicholas Hoult about, obviously, the author. I haven't seen Masters of the Air, but I know you liked it, and it's on my list. Also, Anthony Boyle was in Ordeal by Innocence, an Agatha Christie take. It's a it's I say that it's loosely based on an Agatha Christie novel. And I noticed that Anthony Boyle was in Dairy Girls as one of his earlier roles, a couple of episodes. And of course, Dairy Girls, very Irish. Then I was thinking like Nicola Coughlan, how cool would it be if she just like popped up in this series? I don't know. Wishful thinking.
But yeah, that'd be wonderful.
What about you, Sunny? Did you like Anthony Boyle's performance?
Oh, I loved him. I think, yeah, Arthur Guinness is definitely my favorite character. And I think a lot of it is because we spend so much time with him. We like really get to know him. And yeah, like you said, Stephanie, he's got great like expressions, and like he's also like a great orator. Like he like really delivers his lines like memorably. I don't know. I always like really enjoy whenever he gives so many speeches in the season. They're
Yeah.
always like really fun to listen to. And he's got the best wardrobe. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
loved him.
And then we see his relationship a lot with his younger brother, of course, Edward. I'm sure we'll talk about that a bit more. And his wife to be, and then very quickly, he makes her the wife, Olivia Hedges character. And the two of them on the screen are really iconic. So, yeah, I like the screen time they gave him. And of course, you feel for him because obviously we know his story here.
Well, he struggles with a lot of things, but one of those things is that he is a gay man during this time when that is criminalized, basically. And, he's a public figure and he has to hide it. So he has to come up with certain arrangements. And also, he clearly seems to have a bit of a drinking problem, like his younger brother, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But yeah, he seems to have a lot of inner turmoil happening
Yeah.
in a very high pressure world.
Yeah. He's down on himself a lot, and for obvious reasons. He has, real reasons to struggle there. But sometimes I feel like it made me think of that Pink song, I'm a hazard to myself. I'm like, don't let me get me. I don't know. Now I'm getting a little pop culture here. But I'm like, be strong. You're really cool. Like, I don't know. People like you if you just like yourself a little bit more. I don't know. I know that's like maybe making light of the situation, but I felt like he was down on himself a lot and I think maybe his wife said that to him actually at one point.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
such
know.
a good point. Yeah.
Yeah,
He could be likable, you know? We
yeah,
wanted him to be likable.
maybe that's what it was. Because then by the end, there's some almost villainous moments, and I was like, no, we want you to be, you know, I don't know, the fun older brother. Of course, he's very apathetic from the get-go. He's kind of like, I don't want the business. I want to be in London. I don't want to deal with reality. And then he finds a very supportive wife, actually. I mean, that's really cool. Let's talk about that character a little bit because we're getting into it. So, Lady Olivia. Now, Sunny, we had been talking about this show before it came out, and I believe you were a fan of this actress leading into it.
Yes, Danielle Galligan. She was a lead in another Netflix show, Shadow and Bone, and she was my favorite character in that show. I would say she's definitely number two, if not tied for number one, favorite character for this show. I loved episode three when she was introduced. I think it was like my favorite episode for that reason. Like when she appeared on screen, I was like, oh, finally, like we've been waiting for her. Yeah, and I love her chemistry with Arthur. Like I think just actors the chemistry between the actors is like really great. And their relationship is like so interesting and complicated. And I thought they did a really, really beautiful job sort of sifting through the nuance of that relationship, like both of them together. Um, yeah, what did you guys think of Danielle as Lady Olivia?
Yeah. I thought she was so beautiful, first of all. I loved her from the second I saw her. And then like her feisty, uh I don't know, strong-willed attitude. I thought she was so cool. And it just became clear she was like perfect to be part of this crazy family. Um, yeah, I definitely want to see more of her. I thought I had watched most of Shadow and Bone, but I think I stopped. I don't know why. I loved the book, but yeah, she is really really cool, and also one of the Irish actors in this show. So I love Irish actors, and this just made me like want to watch everything Irish. So I'll definitely follow her wherever she goes.
Yeah. She was kind of like a force on the screen as soon as she made her entrance. And I loved the initial impressions from the butler, Potter, who is actually, quite a main character almost throughout the series and his opinions and the way he is always observing and in everyone's business. And he kind of says to Arthur, like, I don't know, she's a bit too smart for this role of being your wife, or she's too sharp, too smart. And of course, Arthur likes that about her. She is beautiful, Stephanie, as you mentioned. Did you think she was a little bit of a Gillian Anderson kind of look?
Ooh. Yeah, maybe young Gillian Anderson. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, she does kind of resemble her.
Yeah, I don't know. That was my thought. And then, of course, we love X-Files and we love Scully, and Scully's a sharp, strong female. So I kind of in my head associate the two for some reason.
Yeah, and her hair right now is very short. She's got like a little bob,
Mhm.
kind of like Scully. So I love that.
Yeah, I loved that scene with her and Arthur and Aunt Agnes, which is so funny. There's like another, I feel like Agnes is a great name for like a meddling aunt.
Oh, totally.
But
Oh,
yeah,
Gilded. Oh,
that's
you're thinking Gilded Age.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
But yeah, I love that scene, the three of them when they're all introduced, and it's like it's almost like a tennis match between like Lady Olivia and Arthur, and like Aunt Agnes is in the middle, just like watching them with her mouth
yeah.
open. Yeah, love her.
Yeah, they're very honest with each other from the get-go, these two. And they're very well suited for the most part of the series. Then, of course, things get a little more complicated when, they had said we can both have our flings. It was a what do you call Stephanie, a lavender marriage, and they called it
Yeah.
yeah, and they called it a mariage blanc, so like a white marriage in French that translates to. I thought that was interesting. I hadn't actually heard that phrase.
No, I haven't either.
That
Yeah,
was
it's like the ideal arrangement in my mind.
that's right. It was interesting because they kind of formed an agreement, a verbal agreement, like we can have our flings. We just need to keep it, keep the emotion out of it, be discreet above all things. And eventually, feelings happen sometimes in those situations. And that happened for Lady Olivia. And spoiler alert, if anyone's just, no, you all have seen it if you're listening. Spoiler alert, Rafferty and Lady Olivia get together. They have some really heated romantic scenes, I would say, but you can tell that there is a love formed between the two of them, and that doesn't sit well with Arthur for many reasons. And yeah, bad things kind of happen from that.
Ooh, I have a question for you guys. Do you think that Arthur was in love with Mr. Rafferty?
I'm so glad you asked that
That's a
because
good
when
question.
Carly was talking about Rafferty and Olivia, I was like, well, remember, Rafferty's been around the block with these Guinness people, and I couldn't tell if he and Arthur had a thing or not. Because he
Yeah,
had
that's
mentioned that
true.
he will, he will do things with the Guinness people
Yes.
if they ask. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
took that to mean the brothers too. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but
Yes.
he's got bisexual energy.
Wait, oh my gosh, I didn't even catch that because I knew he was referring to Anne, of course, because they had an affair. But that's
Hmm.
true. The reason I picked up on that was on my second rewatch during the wedding
The
scene
wedding
when
scene.
Arthur, yes,
Yes.
and Olivia turns around and kisses Arthur in front of Mr. Rafferty.
Oh
And
yeah.
while they're kissing, Arthur is like looking into Mr. Rafferty's eyes, like direct eye contact while he's kissing his wife. And I was like, oh, is there something between them?
I thought they were positioning for a threesome, honestly.
Yeah,
Yeah, 1000%. I
totally.
thought
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like a trio for the rest of the show, but yeah, maybe that's where the jealousy comes from with Arthur.
Mm.
Mm,
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people know about Arthur's sexuality. Like
yeah.
Yep.
everyone, Aunt Agnes, Rafferty, they all know.
His inner circle definitely seem to be understanding and like accepting of it.
Yeah.
They just like don't want him to get in trouble because of, the times that they live in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. No, so it's interesting that that was a very good point to bring up, Sunny, because I think we're all kind of on the same page there that something may have happened. Because I think Rafferty said he had worked for the Guinnesses for 20 years, which means probably since a very young age. And, you know, people get up to things in their college years, right? Yeah. So they sow some wild oats during that time period. So, yeah, interesting stuff. Interesting about Anne and Rafferty too, because it's in the very first episode where we learned that just a few days before Sir Benjamin's death, 3 days, I think, before that, they had a little fling. And she kind of likes him, I think, and would like to continue down that path with him, but he's putting up some boundaries there. He still kind of talks to her. And then there was another episode later on when she's walking up the stairs and Rafferty says that if she falls, he would catch her and hold her. And I was like, oh my gosh, so yeah, I don't know, that's kind of sweet.
Yeah, that was sweet. And then I feel like that storyline like totally fizzled out. Honestly, I was like, I forgot that they had an affair. And then I rewatched and I was like, oh yeah, they had an affair.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it to me, I don't know how you guys are doing, but it seemed like Mr. Rafferty was like down to keep the affair going, except that Edward threatened him and was like, please stop sleeping with my sister, and if you keep doing it, I'm gonna fire you, kind of thing. So I don't
Ah,
know,
okay.
maybe they would have fallen in love if Edward hadn't known about it.
So we talked about the older two siblings so far. I believe the third in line is Benjamin Lee Guinness II. And this is the actor Fiona O'Shea. And I know, Sunny, you mentioned this actor when we were talking about our upcoming period dramas episode as the evil boyfriend in Normal People. Is that right?
Yes, he dated Daisy Edgar Jones's character, and he was like kind of like a brutal guy. Just, yeah, kind of a scumbag. Yeah, I feel like Fiona Shea as Benjamin Guinness kind of brought some of that like despicableness into this character, from his character in Normal People. Like he's drunk all the time. I don't know, he's kind of like a little lost, a little meandering. To be honest, I think that's just because like he wasn't as included in the writing and in the screen time. We didn't really get to know him. And in that way, I feel like his character was like wasted a little bit. I don't know. What did you guys think?
It's been so long since I've watched Normal People that I forgot that he was the boyfriend. But I knew like he was so familiar the whole time I was watching. I was like, I know this face. Yeah, I mean, just what a sad character, you know? Like we really didn't get to know him at all. I feel like we don't know, how his alcoholism started or anything like that. He just was kind of there sometimes
Or
and
not
wasn't
there.
really, or yeah, or just not there. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't love the character at all. Didn't get much of him. He was a vehicle for Elizabeth Doolittle to join the show, though, as his
Yes.
wife, and we love her.
Yes.
She played Clea on Andor, Queen Clea.
Yes.
But yeah,
And I didn't recognize her at first. I went through, all of episode 4, she's in it and wearing a blonde wig or blonde hair. And then it was like episode 6 when Benjamin comes back as a soldier with his wife. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Clea. I was like, I think I shouted at the screen, Clea! Because Stephanie and I, we love Andor so much. And I had seen that actress on the red carpet.
hmm
And so it kind of clicked for me all of a sudden, Elizabeth. But yeah, playing Lady Henrietta St. Lawrence. So this really cool name, but then we didn't even get to see much of her. And I did notice, so we don't get a lot of Benjamin scenes. Of course, he also has that other love interest, Christine. And Sunny, you know this actress as well.
Yes, she was in the kneecap film, and she was like my favorite character. She's also the only girl, so maybe that's why by default she was my favorite character. But yeah, she was great in that. And I think she's got such a period face. Like
Mm-hmm.
kneecap is set in present day. But I thought she looked right at home in this sort of like 19th century costuming. Um
Yeah.
yeah, another character I thought felt a little wasted, and I'm gonna be honest, like people kept referring to her as like a lunatic, like a mad woman, but like she didn't
What?
give off like lunatic vibes to me, so I was like very confused about that. Yeah.
I didn't pick up on that. To me, she was just, I think maybe knew Benjamin from a younger age. I think Edward makes a comment like, no, she really loves him and they they had a history there. And so when he kind of fell off the wagon and started drinking, she still loved him. I didn't really see
Oh
that.
yeah. It was like a element of the story that was like meant to be understood by the other family members. There was a one scene in the during the wedding when Aunt Agnes sits down next to Benjamin and is like, "You need to get married." And he's like, "I'm in love." And she was like, "No, not Lady Christine. She's a lunatic. She's penniless and a lunatic," she says.
Oh.
And then I guess that's supposed to be like supported by the fact that she like tries to, kill herself after she
Hmm,
finds out that
that's
he's been
true.
married. But like
Oh,
again, that's like not how she played the character. She like seemed very sane to me. So I just
yeah,
like
just
didn't really buy the like whole like
I get
crazy
you.
woman vibe.
I get you now. Yeah, she was lovesick and I mean, loved someone who was really struggling with alcoholism. So,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. And I like what you said about the looking appropriate in this period because during that wedding scene, she's wearing this really pretty pink dress and it's like, off the shoulders and then a black choker necklace. And I was like, oh, looks so pretty, like a painting.
Yeah, I also loved her wedding outfit.
Yeah. And I did notice also Benjamin in Wikipedia does not get a link. So the other kids for Sir Benjamin
Oh
Guinness got
no.
a little link to another page, but not Benjamin. So then maybe they really didn't have much to know about his history, but they could have just figured something out for him more than just being a soldier and an alcoholic.
Yeah, okay, Carly, I actually didn't know until you just told us that he was the second eldest brother, which I think makes his like crash out more understandable. Like the fact that his older brother and his youngest brother, like his younger brother, they get control of the brewery. That makes more sense to me now. He's just kind of this like sibling that was passed over.
Yeah, passed over yet named after his father. So I don't, yeah, I almost feel like there's
Mm.
some kind of, psychology thing there where there was probably a lot of expectation around him. And yeah, and so Sir Benjamin Lee Guinness was the third son in his family. Okay. And his father was Arthur the second, and his grandfather was Arthur, the founder of the brewery, which I thought was interesting to think. Like the whole history, Steph's nodding. I mean, it's fascinating, right, Steph?
Yeah, it really is. It's crazy to think that like this is where we focus the story, but it's like not even where Guinness started by any means. But I guess it's just because, it's young people running this giant empire, so that's why it's the focus of this TV show. But yeah, I read just like a little blurb about the family because I wanted to know like what was true and what wasn't true. And I did read that Benjamin really was like totally passed over for like inheritance and everything. He didn't get anything. So what they portrayed in the show about like who got what did seem to be accurate, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
very interesting to think about.
it is interesting. Also, Sir Benjamin Guinness married his first cousin, so that's interesting.
Oh boy.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that happened back then. But yeah, the history is interesting and the children, and I think perhaps they did start here because the success of Succession, the TV show, I think they did really play into this being a similar storyline. I don't know if you felt that way.
Oh,
Yeah, I
definitely.
definitely. Sorry, Stephanie, you go.
Oh no, I was just gonna say they talked about that in some of the press too, like the actors. They're like, it's very
Mm.
succession-y.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely like the vibe. But I couldn't help but think like in Succession, I think one of the reasons it was so successful and so compelling as a story is because we see the buildup of the siblings and like their relationships to Brian Cox, the person who's giving them the succession. And I feel like that element kind of was missing in this. I almost wish we had seen the Father Guinness a little more and like how he treated or like his relationships with his children and how that affected the succession to the brewery. I don't know, what do you guys
Mhm.
think? Like for that part to me felt missing.
Yeah, I thought about that too a lot. I was like, who was he and was he nice? Like I don't even know. Like
Yeah.
how did he treat them? They seemed to love him, but at the same time they didn't seem that upset at the funeral. So like was he awful? Yeah, I really wanted to know more about that dynamic for sure. And what happened to their mother? Did they ever mention? I don't
No,
know.
just that she passed away. And then they made a mention that he wasn't ill for very long either. So, yeah, definitely wanted to know a bit more. You're right about them not being too overly sad. I thought it was interesting because they also didn't know what was going to be in the will. They didn't know how they were going to be, what they were going to get from the inheritance. So I think even the night before the reading of the will, Anne was a little hopeful that she would get something or some kind of sense of some form of power in some way. She kind of was hopeful there and then got nothing. Benjamin, you know, it sounded like in the will, Sir Guinness said that he sought advice from God and doctors and felt it was not wise to burden Benjamin with the temptations that come from fortune. So that was sad, but you could probably see where he got from what he got from that. But I almost was thinking like the night before, I was like, maybe Anne is going to be the woman who takes over the brewery, and I was kind of hoping for that, and then it was just like nothing because we didn't really know, kind of like what you said. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I also didn't know Anne was the eldest, so that kind of makes it even more sad. But she like didn't get anything despite being the eldest child. But I guess that's what it was like back then. You know, if you were a woman, you like just were totally ignored.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Yeah, and in the will, it mentioned she's a ward of her husband and will not
Oof,
be in want
yeah.
of resident. I mean, that, oh, that, yeah, that hits hard when you hear that, how women were
Yeah.
treated.
And he doesn't have money, right? Like they
So,
don't seem to be wealthy,
no,
so
he was a reverend and he seemed to be a little hopeful at the reading of the will too and
Mm,
disappointed.
yeah, I didn't get good vibes from him at all.
no.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. He
No.
was like very he was like giving creepy uncle vibes.
Yeah, for sure.
Truly. Yeah. And so now this really brings us down to our fourth child, the youngest, Edward, played by Louis Partridge. And let's start at the beginning because we were talking about the will. So let's talk about the inheritance that was given to Arthur and Edward, the oldest and the youngest brothers. They're joint and equal owners, but if one of them gives it up, they give up everything to the one that remains. And the brewery cannot be divided or given up. If they decline or retire, they forfeit everything else. So all of their estates and wealth go along with it. That's at least how I read it. And the night before the will was being read, the two brothers are talking. These two are kind of confidants in a lot of scenes. And Edward was telling Arthur that he wanted to buy the business from him because they all assumed it would go just to the eldest brother, Arthur. And he had been working hard in the brewery. He knew the business in and out, and he really wanted to be the the guy there. So he was already preparing that in his head, and then here he's given half. I mean, how interesting. And we even see him kind of going on a little bit of a power trip right after this. So let's talk about that and let's talk about Louis Partridge's portrayal of this brother.
I think at first I was really surprised at the casting decision for Louis Partridge. I think he might be one of the more well-known actors of the show, but to me he looks so young. I was just like surprised that they would cast somebody that looked so young. But I think at the time of Succession he was like a pretty young person, like in real life in history. So I guess that makes sense. I was also surprised because he's British, he's not Irish. But I think that might have been like an intentional choice because there is that whole sort of divide between the Protestant like British loyalist Guinness family and the rest of Ireland. And he plays this character very British, I feel like. I don't know, like all of his mannerisms, like the way he like nods and stuff feels so British. But maybe that was like the point because he's like a Guinness. Um, yeah, what did you think, Stephanie?
Yeah, I felt the same way. I felt like he was just very British, even though he did do a good job on the accent, doing like a slight Irish accent. They had like a gradient of Irish accents in the show. Like it was very interesting, but I kind of like that they do that. They,
Yeah.
really think about what these characters are trying to portray and where they spend their time and all of that. But Louis, that's what I thought too the whole time. I was like, he looks so young. It's kind of hard to believe him as like running this huge business. Um, I think he played the character well. Like he had this gentleness to him. He was kind of like the one who seems to have like a good moral compass. And he's very supportive for the most part of his siblings. But yeah, he wasn't the most exciting character. and that's okay. I just think Louis was an interesting choice because he does look so young, but he pulled it off well.
Yeah, I'd say he pulled it off well, but you're right. So we've seen him in Enola Holmes 2 on Netflix. And this actor is becoming a frequent period drama actor because also being cast in the upcoming Netflix Pride and Prejudice as Mr. Wickham. So it'll be really fun to then see him be the rake that is Wickham. And in this series, of course, he does have a bit of that, haughty air at times because of his wealth and upbringing. But as you said, a bit of a moral compass, and he's trying to learn, he's trying to grow. Of course, that all stems from his relationship with Ellen Cochrane. And I don't know, I actually really liked him in this, and I liked his character by the end of it.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that he had the whole Ellen relationship, essentially a mistress, but even though he wasn't married at the time, that he had this fling with Ellen, and then he marries Adelaide, and his relationship with Adelaide is pretty much built on respect and honesty. So it was very interesting. I don't know. I was intrigued by his character, and it sounds like he really did want to, provide a pension for his employees and treat his employees with that same respect that he treats everyone. So I don't know. I kind of liked it.
Are you guys team Adelaide or team Ellen?
That's a
Oh,
tough one.
that's
Like
tough.
he has such a great he has two really great choices. Like what a lucky dude.
Yeah, because I do like both of the women.
Did y'all know
Yeah.
like right away that he would end up falling in love with Ellen? Because I saw it from a mile away. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, they're gonna do it. They're gonna have a thing.
I'm so naive. I never know this. I think there was another podcast episode that we were talking about, and I just had no idea this was. Oh, well, Larry and Marion. I didn't even. I thought they were gonna be friend zoned the whole time in the Gilded Age, and everyone was like, "How did you not see that?" So I'm just blind.
Okay, maybe this is controversial, but I didn't really buy Edward and Ellen together. I I know like again, like I could see it from a mile away, like the seeds were planted in the first episode, but I don't think they have that much chemistry. I don't know. Maybe a controversial opinion. Maybe people won't agree with me, but I didn't really buy them falling in love, and then I didn't really buy them like being sad when they broke up later in the season. And I actually really think he has great chemistry with Adelaide, which
Yeah,
I noticed more on my second rewatch. I think they have like the same style of banter. And they just like I think their back and forth feels a little more like organic and natural. Um,
yeah,
which is why I was like bummed we didn't get to see too much of Adelaide after their sort of like courtship
yep.
period in the castle.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I think they didn't give us enough time with them because there was a time
Yes.
jump. There was like a 6 month time jump where they didn't see each other, but they were thinking about each other, and it was like, okay. But I get where you're coming from, Sunny. I don't disagree with you. And I did think that it was really cute in, I think it was episode 6, maybe, where they are having their little fling and it was just showing them like happy in the rain. I kind of liked
Yeah.
that part.
Honestly,
But
that was like the most chemistry I thought they had was like when they were like running away or running around in the rain together, and then also when they were like pinning up the laundry. Like I
yeah,
thought those moments felt like more intimate than the intimate scenes.
yeah. And I thought that him going up to her room and stuff that was kind of cute. She has this like really bohemian looking apartment, and some of those scenes made me think of Moulin Rouge a little bit for some reason. And then when he breaks it off with her because he has to, and he's in the street and he looks up at her, that also reminded me of Moulin Rouge. But anyways, now I'm just randomly thinking about my favorite movie. But okay, so what about you, Steph? Did you buy this Ellen Edward fling?
I think there was a part of me that felt the same way. That was like, okay, I don't know about this. Like
she seems like she would eat him alive. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
she's
yes.
she's so strong-willed, and I just don't see how she would fall in love with this kind of like boring shy man. I mean, I'm a shy person too, so not all shy people are boring, but I just feel like, yeah, they didn't really match. Like,
Yeah.
she needs someone who's like really, really passionate, and I don't know. Yeah, they just didn't really go together. I agree. I like the little moments that they had together, and towards the end, I did believe that they were sad, but
Hmm.
yeah, the rest of it just felt kind of forced, I guess.
Okay, so that I'm glad you mentioned some of that, Stephanie, because in the wedding scene where he invites Ellen to the wedding
Mhm.
and they kind of finally talk to each other a little off the cuff, and she says, shouldn't you be out there finding a wife? And he says, shouldn't a woman of your age already have a husband? That's a little rude. And then she says, I'm waiting for someone to take me seriously. So then it makes me think, because he did try to help progress her cause a little bit, do you think that was the only kind of thing that made her want him? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think once he showed that he did care and that he, um, he wasn't all talk. He really like did help her and wanted to make things right. He did seem, I guess, honest and passionate about his what he's trying to do. So maybe that sort of made her consider him. I don't know.
Yeah. And maybe her choices aren't really great because, okay, the working class, they're not maybe as educated, and she's a smart lady and she needs someone who can kind of speak on her level, maybe.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of dazzled by people that we think are unattainable too. So
Mm.
maybe, there is a little part of her that is attracted to him being this like prince, of this empire.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to be, but, she can't help it.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think that's maybe why I felt a little disappointed by her falling for him is because when she falls in love with him, I feel like her attention is kind of diverted away from, her project, her mission. Um, and yeah, honestly, like as soon as they started kissing, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be the rest of her storyline, isn't it? It's like she's just gonna be his like love interest, but we all know it's never gonna go anywhere. But also, I think if they really drew out that like enemies to lovers sort of arc, that would have been like really fun. But it
Yeah.
happened in like 3 episodes.
Yeah. The slow burn. We like the slow burn.
Yes,
Oftentimes. Yeah.
for
And
sure.
okay, I have to say, maybe I am Team Adelaide a bit because she's also a smart woman. I mean, this show is filled with smart women, which is cool, even if they don't sometimes get enough screen time. But she also resists Edward a bit and sees that he really is trying, and that's kind of why she gives him a chance there. And yeah, I don't know. I kind of like Adelaide, and they seem like they have a pretty strong relationship, even if it's not, they say it's not built on love. Like that was an interesting conversation at the end where they're like, "Oh, well, if I could love someone, it would be you, but I don't really think I'm capable of that kind of a love." What did you think about that?
Adelaide to me is written kind of like a saint. Like she's so chilled about everything. I mean, she's mission driven and purposeful and ambitious and she's very no nonsense, which I love. Um, but she was also like so cool about the fact that Edward showed up to the brewery at like 3 in the morning after spending the evening with his like former love, his former flame. And I was like, oh, come on. Like, was this all written by a man? Like, how is she just like so cool with it? But then, but then he doesn't ever like lie to her. He's like upfront about where he was. He doesn't try to gaslight her. So I think maybe because of that, it's believable that, that she wouldn't like blow up at him because they have a relationship built on honesty. And she knew about her before they got married too. So I guess I don't know. Like I was like, every time I see Adelaide, I'm like, you make all the right decisions, but like, how do you have so much control over yourself that, um, Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think, Stephanie?
Yeah, I think she's just very realistic, I guess. I'm kind of like that too, a saint, but I'm just like, okay, well, this isn't going to go in my favor, so let's just be honest, you know?
Mm,
um, I think she's really cool, like what she's doing with the Guinness business, building these homes and everything for the workers and the low income people and all of that. I really love seeing that she is like this working woman and she brings Anne into it as well. They work together. So I love that aspect of it. And she's very outspoken. She's not intimidated by them at all. So I love all of that about her. Um, their relationship is a little frustrating, but also maybe it will work because they are honest with each other, like Olivia and Arthur. Although
maybe
they,
maybe they're the slow burn that we want.
I'm thinking that that might end up being the case. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
that seems like what they were setting it up to be, right? When they had that conversation about, like, I think I could love you, or
Mhm.
you're the person I would love. So, yeah, maybe that's where they're headed, hopefully.
Okay, so as a Gossip Girl fan, I don't know why, but I feel like Adelaide's a bit of a Blair. And
mm.
I'm like, I don't know. Is it gonna be is 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 Edward Dan or is he Chuck? Okay, sorry. Now this makes no sense at all. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking. But I don't know. Something about her reminded me of Blair a little bit, and she's just my favorite. But it's Blair throughout the whole series and like all that she goes through. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking.
I see it.
Okay. Thanks, guys. All right. Um, let's see if there's this has been fun. This has been interesting. We're doing more of a character analysis because I think I think from what I'm hearing from all of us is that we liked it. It was entertaining. We liked some of the characters, but the storyline itself, the plot progression, it left us wanting a little more from it.
Yeah, I think I did reading on the Guinness family after I watched the whole season, and I feel like as the season progressed, it started feeling a little bit like paint by the numbers, like a little formulaic, a little predictable, which isn't necessarily bad. Like again, I was entertained the entire time, but it wasn't until I read the actual history that I could like appreciate the events that happened, like the whole, plot with the women and their like philanthropic missions. Like they actually did all of that, which I didn't know before watching the show and reading the history. So that was like really cool to learn about. But it's like those things that you like have to know beforehand to like appreciate because we didn't spend enough time with the characters to like see all of their like their plans play out, so to speak. Um I thought like the scenes between characters, like the character driven scenes were like my favorite scenes. Like every scene with Arthur and Lady Olivia, I loved. Every scene between Edward and Arthur, I also love. Like they're very playful together. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I liked the scene even at the beginning where it seems like Arthur had been in London for a while and Edward was testing him to see if he lost his Irish accent or not. Yeah, they just had some cute brotherly moments. I also liked it when we Edward visits Arthur in this like bohemian-esque apartment and he's confused about what an apartment is. And Stephanie, did that make you think of Downton Abbey when Lord Grantham goes into the apartments with Lady Mary and it's like, uh, is it a layer cake of strangers? Sorry, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that. I love that he doesn't really seem to judge him at all. Like Edward doesn't seem to judge Arthur at
Yeah.
all, which I love. He's probably kind of confused by his actions and desires, I guess, but he just is looking out for him the whole time, looking out for him and the business.
Yeah, I think the common theme too, which they say is it seems to be that no one in the Guinness family can be with the one they love. So,
Hmm.
I mean, we see that with Arthur for very obvious reasons. We see that with Benjamin, Christine, right? and maybe would have loved Rafferty or someone else. And then, of course, Edward here, even though we think maybe he will eventually love Adelaide. Oh, so while I didn't see some of the plot points, like I'm really naive and everything, I did know Patrick, that man who came on to Arthur in the brewery and then had him go to that party and try to get him arrested. I knew he was bad. I was like, I know he's bad.
Okay,
He's up to no good.
I didn't clock onto that, so kudos to you.
I'm like the opposite. But anyways, yeah. Oh, okay. One major character we haven't said a word about. We got to talk about Jack Gleason here.
Yeah.
How did we
I
not
was I
talk
was about
about
to
him?
Oh
say
my
it's
gosh.
time.
It's time to talk about this character, this performance. This was a scene-stealing performance. Loved it. Do you guys agree, Steph?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan, so definitely know him as Joffrey. I feel like this sense of pride seeing him in something else and like breaking out of that Joffrey, you know, like shell that he unfortunately has. It's hard for these characters or these actors who are so great at playing these like horrible characters. It's hard for them to get those other jobs, but I thought he was great. He's like a little weasel who's just like, he's gonna get where he wants to go, and he's really good at scheming and somehow just like weasels his way into this family and making a big impact with what their business does. I loved him. I thought he was so great. He was funny and um, yeah, one of those who kind of like becomes kind of evil with his power.
So, the same Irish critic that called James Norton steampunk Mr. Tato called Jack Gleason's Byron Hedges a feral leprechaun, which
Yeah.
I thought was very apt, but man, he was so good. Like I thought he was cast perfectly. He like played, yeah, Stephanie, like you said, the little weasel. He like played him so well. I thought he was like extremely entertaining and like fun to watch. And I love his like huge oversized fur coat that he wears. I thought that was like one of the best. What
Yeah.
maybe my second favorite outfit wardrobe choice this season.
Yeah.
What do you think, Carly?
Loved it. And I love how, you get a bit of him in the beginning and then you see him I mean, he's an opportunist really, and he gets over to New York to grow the business and he makes choices there on his own that really impacts the business. But I have to say, episode 7, him coming down the river on the barge to that music, that moment was so iconic and funny. And my husband and I were just like, that was really badass and cool and loved it. And I think right before that, they called him the New York Cowboy.
Mhm.
Such a fun moment. And then later on, I think it was the end of episode 7, perhaps. He's there with the brothers and Rafferty, and he's like, I need to know your secrets. And they just like divulge everything in a very funny way. Like, that was one of my favorite scenes from the whole show. I feel like they were really getting into their groove with the humor and kind of the badassery. And I feel like if they take sort of what they accomplished there in that scene and ran with it in season 2, I think we could have a really, really cool series that's just kind of growing and developing.
I agree. I love the pacing of that scene. That was like one of the most fun scenes. Um, and I was also like a little confused why he came back. I was like, what is he doing here? But I think like it makes sense because he's gone to America and he's like learned a bunch of stuff and he's bringing it over and like trying to apply it to like Dublin politics and Dublin society, which is like so funny, the whole comparison with like Abraham Lincoln and stuff. Um, and then Potter, the butler, goes, well, you should remind Mr. Hedges that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. I don't know, that was just like all of it was so funny.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I agree. I think that was like a really great scene, and I'd love to see more of that energy in the next
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as the show went on, like towards the end of the season, it just got more exciting. Like there's more tension building up, and yeah, I really loved that last episode. I thought it was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was I was kind of like, wait, what is he doing? How is he here? He just like somehow became a campaign manager. Like what is this guy doing? It's wild.
Yeah, I guess they saw him as somewhat of a strategist, making some headway with the business in the Americas and Canada too, maybe. So they were like, let's bring him back, campaign manager. Yeah, it was a little interesting, but let's go with it. And let's talk about episode 8 now. We've kind of made our way to that final episode. Stephanie, you said it got exciting by this point. We were all wondering what was going to happen because then Ellen's brother, who we also haven't really mentioned too much, he's a Fenian who is very hot-tempered and wants to do something to the Guinness family. He's ready to shoot Arthur when he's at his, campaign rally. And he's at one point practicing in the woods, shooting the Guinness bottles, which was kind of interesting. And like,
I don't know about you guys, but Liam and I were like dying laughing during the shooting practice scenes because it's like he like that's like all he did the entire episode leading up to the last scene, and I was like, what is this guy's schedule? Like 8 a.m. wake up, 9 a.m. shooting practice, 12 p.m. lunch, 1 p.m. shooting practice. Like I don't know, it was just like kind of funny to me.
it
And
was
also,
funny.
they would show him like shoot one, and then they showed him like backing up and going farther. And it's like, okay, we get it. Like, we understand how this works.
Yeah, maybe one too many shooting scenes. Like, we get it. That's so funny, guys. Oh my
And then
gosh.
he like did like a spin and like shot another one.
Oh man.
It's
Also,
we haven't talked about him too much, but I do like the actor that plays Patrick Cochran. Like he's got a great face. Like
yeah.
I believe him to be this sort of like hardened like rebel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
Rough around the edges, but he has a soft spot for his sister and she
Yeah.
loves him. She calls him Bonehead like 20 times. And so it's election day. We get that full circle moment where the kids are back in the room together again after we had seen him in episode 1 before the funeral. They even played the same song. I don't know if you noticed that as they
Mhm.
were leaving the room together. And even Anne says it's a full circle moment. She's like, Benjamin, you're slightly less drunk. um, Edward, you've turned into an international Leviathan. I meant Arthur saying this. He then says, Anne, by your will, you've ensured our name. Our family name is remembered not just for beer, but for kindness. And I thought that was a sweet sentiment from Arthur.
You mentioned the speech practice scenes. I really
Hmm.
loved those with Edward and Arthur. That was really good acting on Anthony Boyle's part. He's so good. I think he's kind of a cut above the rest.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the acting in that scene, he's when he speaks, it feels so genuine to that character and
Mhm.
so real and like you're watching a person, not an actor. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. And his mustache.
His real mustache, that's really his.
That's very impressive.
Hmm. He kind of reminds me of someone, and also when it showed like the political posters, I was thinking, is it like the Trader Joe's art a little bit? Or the Hendrix gin? There's some kind of like that.
Yes,
Do you know what I'm talking
totally.
about?
Or the
I
Pringles man.
actually, yeah.
Yeah.
I did love seeing the campaign posters. Like, I love seeing illustrated versions of people. So I thought that was like a cool, like, production design thing that they included.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
really
those were
fun.
really cool. I loved them too. And didn't he hate them? Wasn't he like, what is
Yes.
this?
Well, he didn't like the beard, the electable beard.
That's right. The Abraham Lincoln beard. That's right. I forgot about that part.
So funny. Election scene. Love Lady Olivia's blue costume in this. She looks stunning, especially her hat. It reminded me of the Marie Antoinette's entrance into the Versailles outfit a little bit. She's going to go up on the stage, even though we know there's a potential assassination plot. All the siblings are there. We know someone's going to get shot. even, Rafferty's trying to monitor the place and make sure no one gets hurt. The butler's there, of course, as always. Ellen is there. She shows up because she doesn't want her brother to get arrested or killed. Or no, she wants him to get arrested, not killed. And it's really building up a lot. Arthur's giving a good speech that he's been practicing, and we know there's a gun hidden there. Patrick Cochran goes into the room. He gets his gun, holds it up to shoot, and everyone's kind of running at him. Oh, there was a distraction. Perfect timing for him to shoot. And then boom, cliffhanger. Like, oh my gosh, what the heck? That was usually we don't get that big of a cliffhanger on these shows, right?
Yeah, without season two being confirmed, like they better give it to us now.
Yeah. Sometimes they end a season one with a little bit of room for it to be like closure, but then a little bit of openness to continue on. This was like you have to give us a season two.
I think after the shot, when it just ended, I like looked around my living room like, what?
That's
You
funny.
can't do that. But I mean, think about Peaky Blinders. Like some of the cliffhangers for that show were
Uh,
intense. So maybe it's just a Stephen Knight thing. I don't know.
I gotcha. And see, I watched Peaky Blinders like mostly after the first few seasons had already run, so I
Mm.
didn't pick up on that. That was a good point, Steph.
Mm.
Yeah, so there you have it, folks. We have talked about our characters. We did talk about some of the major scenes in season one of House of Guinness, but mostly focused on the characters and our opinions of them. Hopefully, you enjoyed our insights and comments here. Maybe you agree with us, maybe you don't, but yeah, it was fun to talk about it with you too. We we did such a deep dive on the Gilded Age earlier this season. So it was kind of fun at the end of our Swoon-Worthy season 5 to take a different series and just really dig into it. So thank you.
I just wanted to say, I highly recommend watching the fun press videos that Netflix did for this show. There's so many really cute ones. And one of my favorites is where the cast goes to this record store and they like pick out records for each other that they think they would like. It's really, really sweet. And I loved it.
That's so fun. Where can we see these? Are they like on YouTube?
Yeah, just on YouTube or Netflix social media. They're kind of all over the place. But yeah, that one's definitely on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. And Steph, you sent me the one where they were like walking a giant dog or giant
Yeah,
dogs.
the Irish Wolfhounds. Yeah.
Oh
That
my
one was really
gosh.
cute too.
It seemed like they got along really well as a cast and had fun together and seemed really genuine and down to earth. So, and maybe it's because they're mostly Irish actors. I don't
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
know.
they're really, really cute. I loved them.
I have one wish for the next season. And it's that we see more of the downstairs of of the House of Guinness because there's so many references to the like quote unquote leaky house, famously leaky House of Guinness. And I thought that would be like fun to see more of that, like the maids whispering and Potter, who's like so funny, like he's so reserved, like your stereotypical butler, but then also like not shy at all about expressing his opinion. Like to see him as the head of this sort of like famously leaky house, I think would be really fun.
That's a great point, Sunny, because that downstairs vibe, like the upstairs, downstairs in Downton Abbey that we get, or the Gilded Age, that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I love that idea. That's so
Hmm.
true. They did mention that a lot, and we didn't really meet any of them. Also, I think I would just like to see more of the Fenians, maybe, because I don't know really anything about them. I need to do some reading. Like you were saying, Carly, I need to learn more about Irish history because it is so interesting. And yeah, so I'd like to see a little bit more of like that opposition, or maybe even people who work in the brewery.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Because that would almost give us more of the Peaky Blinders vibes, I think.
Yeah.
So, yes. And I mean, Irish movies are always so good. I did want to just mention a few of them with you. So, Banshees of Inisherin, so great. And Belfast is also a really good one if you haven't seen that. Do you have any other? I know, Sunny, you mentioned Kneecap earlier on. Any other Irish period dramas we should look out for, team?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'm letting down my husband's side of the family here. Um, yes, loved Banshees of Inisherin, so good. We actually recently rewatched, um, well, I rewatched In Bruges, which is a Martin McDonagh film. Liam watched it for the first time, and we both loved it. Yeah, huge Martin McDonagh fan. I would love to see. He's for those that don't know, a very famous living Irish playwright. I would love to see one of his plays live. I haven't gotten the opportunity yet, but I would love to. Stephanie, have you seen one of his plays?
No, but I would too. Yeah, every time I hear that he like wrote a play that I've heard of, I'm like, oh my gosh, like what hasn't he done? And he's in a relationship with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, right? So they're like,
Oh, I didn't know
he's,
that.
I think so. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else, but I'm pretty sure it's them. But anyways, yeah, these people who can create like that are so incredible. But I mentioned this one previously, Carly, but the one that shakes the barley, that one is I think very revered in um, Ireland amongst like Irish actors, and I mean Cillian Murphy, we love him.
Yes. All right.
That was a hard watch. I've seen that one.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty brutal, but really, really beautiful storytelling. And
yeah.
Killian's great, as always.
love him. Steph, I don't know if you had a chance yet for the Beguiled episode, but Sunny and I were talking about like, what if they had cast Cillian Murphy instead of Colin Farrell in the Beguiled? It would have been interesting. But I was thinking like I don't know if you've seen Red Eye, the movie.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I mean, he can play like creepy slash charming, scary slash charming. I don't
He
know.
can. Yeah, he totally can. Especially back then. Yeah, he was doing everything. But yeah, he's done so many cool things. Have y'all seen Breakfast on Pluto?
You've
No, I
told me
haven't
about
heard
this, but I
of that
haven't
one.
seen
That's a really cool one. I can't remember if he's Irish in that or not.
it.
I would think he probably is, but I don't remember. But it is a period movie, so
Yeah.
it's a cool one. But yeah, Dairy Girls. I mean, you mentioned that Dairy
Oh,
Girls is
yes.
great.
And also, like, I could see if this season, if they continue with House of Guinness, bringing on even more fun Irish actors. And I was thinking Genevieve O'Reilly, Stephanie, who
Yeah,
played Mon Mothma in Andor, along with our Clea. I don't know. I think I could see because she's been in period films, so she was in The Young Victoria and looks nice in that costuming. So I don't know.
that'd be cool.
Yeah. We talked a lot about the creator, Stephen Knight, but the director of this series is Tom Shankland, who did the BBC Les Miserables miniseries from 2018 to 2019, which I think is underrated. I really like it. It's a non-musical version of Les Mis. And earlier this year, the Italian period drama, The Leopard or Il Gattopardo, he directed that as well, which has some stunning costumes and is a really cool historical Italian drama. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Swoon-Worthy. It was such a treat to be back with Stephanie and Sunny, diving into a new period drama together. If you enjoyed this conversation, please be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and share this episode with any friends or family members who you think would love a good deep dive on a historical series. You can follow us on Instagram at Swoonworthy Podcast and my other account on Instagram at Period Drama Style. All right. Thank you both so much. I hope you enjoyed this, Sunny and Stephanie, and I can't wait to have you back next season. Hopefully, you'll join me for some more period drama episodes.
Oh, yes,
Always.
absolutely.
Awesome. Catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.